Welcome back to another episode. And obviously, if you see who's joining me today, we've got Jessica here. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm okay. I can't complain. Well, obviously, we know the premiere just came out this past Wednesday. Um, Obviously, not as soon that I would have liked to be speaking with you, as we could both attest to here. But now that the dust is settled, we had the wait of leading up to the premiere, and then the episode came and went. How are you kind of feeling now emotionally?
Honestly, it was hard to watch back because there is so much that happens. You're being recorded 24 hours a day, and there's so much that happens. It's such an intense environment, and then to see it shortened down into a more digestible version is quite hard to watch because you want to sort of explain everything that happened and be like, this is why I did this, and this is the reason behind that, and you can't really defend yourself to the masses. So it's hard to watch back, and it's hard to watch myself get like rejected like that. It hurts. And I don't think it'll ever not hurt. It's always been like that, watching things back and being like, oh man, that sucks. I don't know if you know this, but I have a very, very strong track record of being the first person sent home. This is my fourth show, and I've always been sent home within the first three eliminations. So it's a touchy subject for me.
No, no, we're seeing a dangerous trend here, unfortunately.
I know.
I was always kind of curious about that because the thing that I always found interesting about reality TV is like there's an element to it to where like you see social commentary happening on screen, but then there's kind of like the confessionals where you're able to see what people are saying, like I guess technically behind your back, so to speak. But I always wondered like if that was like even harder to take in than maybe like some of the social commentary that we're actually seeing within conversations, because it's like I'm assuming that's got to be the most scariest part, especially like, you're not, nobody knows what you're saying about them and vice versa. So I'm assuming that's probably also something that contributed when watching this back to a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, like there was one part, like watching Raven, sort of tell me to shut up and things like that. I was like, man, you weren't saying that to my face. You were so nice to me. You were my roommate. So it can be quite hurtful to see people say negative things behind your back, but you also know that it comes with the territory. And all of us have done some sort of TV before this, so we're all pretty well prepared. And I think a lot of us, between filming and airing, will sort of like air out the dirty laundry, so to speak, on social media. So we might like I spoke to Olivia like last week, and we kind of apologized to each other, and we were like, sorry, we were sort of coming for each other. So you usually kind of fix it before watching it, but sometimes things can like completely take you off guard, and then that's hard because you have to jump straight into like doing media or whatever, having just seen that, like, oh, it was actually Kyland who threw my name out or whatever. I didn't know that. So yeah, things like that is like, it can be pretty overwhelming.
Mm-hmm. And then I obviously read your bio too. It said that you were a challenge super fan. Were you? Is that
Oh
correct?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I originally got the call for the Challenge 37, which was a few years ago. And at that point in time, I wasn't a big Challenge fan. I knew of it, but I wasn't like, I was a big Theo Von fan, so I kind of knew of it through Theo Von, but not much. And then I got dropped from casting because of COVID, couldn't get out of Australia. I was in lockdown. And I just started watching it religiously. Like once I got cast, I just started watching it and watching it, and then I just became a huge fan. And I don't watch television, but I loved the challenge. I was like, this is so addictive. I'm so invested in these characters. And I just became really, I was actually really disappointed in my season's casting because I wanted to play with like CT and Darrell and, Tori and all these people. And then I come in and I'm like, okay, I know who you guys are, but you're not like the big dogs, like,
Yeah, like
so
people I just watched,
yeah.
yesterday. But
Yeah, and I said to TJ, I was like, "This is my dream to be here." Like I said it in the elimination. I was like, "This is my dream to be on this show," and so I'm just grateful. Like meeting TJ, I was like almost in tears. Like I was just a little fangirl. It's so funny.
no, I love to hear that because, like, especially for those that have been a fan of this show for so long, I think it's really rewarding when you see like newer cast members coming in, but they almost like pay homage to the past and are like willing
Mhm.
to kind of like respect like the history and what came before them, and like to see
Yeah,
And I mean, that would feel like a genuine, like, oh my god, like this the guy I was watching host the show, and like to actually be in front of him is, pretty wild. Um,
Yeah.
I had a follow up question because you mentioned Theo Vaughn. Did you like find out about him being on the show like through his podcast and then you went back to watch, or did you watch him like while he was on, the show?
So I found out. So I've actually met Theo, and we had like a little bit of a friendship for some time. And at that point in time, I think I just did some research into his background or whatever, and I was like, oh, he was on this. He comes from these reality shows, and we don't get the American reality TV over here in Australia. It's almost impossible to actually get. Like even watching my own season of The Challenge is really hard over here. And so that's when I sort of started digging through. Like I would watch like the best of the challenge clips on YouTube and stuff like that. And so that was when it all kind of started. And then I was like, you know what, I'm just going to pay to watch all these seasons. So it started from sort of having a friendship and being a fan of Theo's comedy and his podcast and his stand-up. I went to his show here in Australia, and then that sort of snowball effect, kind of went down from there. So yeah. And then once I just randomly got the call for it, and it was like out of the blue. And then I was like, okay, now I'm like totally invested in the show more than I should be.
Yeah, no, I think when I was doing like my research on you, I noticed that, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was because you did obviously Challenge Australia prior to 39, but prior to that, I think like your last stint on TV was with the Bachelorette, right? And it hadn't yet, it was premiering like kind of in the end of 2019 into early 20, I believe it was, and then COVID hit.
Yeah, so I did The Bachelor and that came out in 2019 in
November, I want to say.
Yeah, I know we were filming. So I did The Bachelor in Paradise in November 2019, and that came out mid 2020, so right in the peak of COVID. And where I live in Melbourne, we had the most severe lockdowns in the world. So we were it was like you couldn't go outside, you couldn't leave the country, you couldn't leave the state. And so when I got the call for 37, it was, I believe, sort of towards the end of 2020, maybe, I'm going to say, or maybe sometime it was December 2020, I believe. And at that point, I was in quarantine. And it would have been around Christmas. I literally couldn't leave my house at all and I didn't even have COVID. I'd just been out of state. And when you come back to the state, you need to do this 2-week quarantine. And so, getting anyone out of the country at that point was just impossible. So it was, I know they were trying to get more of a global cast for 37. And I know that myself and Ciarran both received a phone call for 37.
Oh, wow. So did that at any point kind of like, I don't want to say like hinder your like experience like with the Bachelorette airing, or like did it in your opinion?
No, because I mean, it did and it didn't, because do you mean COVID? Did COVID inhibit?
Yeah, like the pandemic hitting like right at that point of the premiere for you.
So Bachelor in Paradise was really big. Bachelor was like less for me, but Bachelor in Paradise was really big, and that was right peaking COVID. And I didn't experience the like people stopping me on the street or anything. I got a lot of online feedback, but because I wasn't going out, and when I had a mask on, it wasn't like I was, being spoken to on the street. So when we actually did get let out of lockdown towards the end of 2020, I was very overwhelmed when I still now, like when people come up to me and they're like, oh, I loved you on The Bachelor or whatever, I'm like, oh, whoa, I'm like not used to it. It was kind of a weird shift because it happened so delayed. But to be fair, I've always had like a really positive edit on these shows, and I've always looked really good. So I didn't really receive much negativity or like negative feedback in person or online. I got a lot of positivity, which I'm really grateful for. So, I can't really complain. It worked out. Yeah.
Yeah, that like stood out to me, like immediately, like jumped off the screen, like because you mentioned about like being able to resonate with people. I noticed like just your ability to kind of be like almost self-aware and not take yourself too seriously. That like immediately jumped out at me. Is that like kind of something I think you like for you at least, is that something that you kind of notice like with yourself, how you've kind of always been?
I definitely haven't always been this way. It actually kind of, when I did Bachelor and Bachelor in Paradise, I don't think I was anywhere near as self-aware as I am now. During COVID, I sort of started meditating and started to sort of introspect. And I think that was when a shift happened. And I was like, I cannot have like all this clinging to an outcome that I can't control. I can't control the edit. I can't control, even the outcomes. Like things happen, and on this season, it was like so many like bad events that happened one after the other that led to me leaving, and most of them I didn't have control over. And so you have to just relinquish at some point. I also think it's just like I'm the second oldest cast member on this season. I think my age, like I'm in my mid-30s. I think that I'm just, I'm a bit more grown up. That's all it is. It's just like, I can't take this seriously. I can't be attached to any particular outcome. I just have to go with it. And at the end of the day, if you can't laugh at yourself, like, what do you have? It's like the edit is funny. I look pathetic. It's hilarious to me now. Like, I just have to take it with a grain of salt. So I'm happy to do that.
No, that's actually really funny that you like the whole laughing at yourself thing. Because anytime, like, if I get like a quote unquote mean comment, I'll like find a way to like spin it, and I'll be like, actually, they kind of have a point here, even though it's like,
yeah, yes. I love agreeing with people that hate me. Like, it's so funny. Like, people will be like, "Oh, you didn't look cute when you failed that thing." I was like, "I know, I look like shit," and then they're like, "Go, like." People who spout mean things online as well, it's coming from a place of like lack in themselves. It's not coming from, nothing is a reflection of you. So I know who I am. I know that I'm a good person, and I know where I stand with myself. So anything that anybody says to me online, I just want to make their day better, because they're obviously having a bit of a crappy day. You don't say mean things online if you're happy. So I want to make their day better. So if I can reply and be like, I hope you have a beautiful day, and I hope like I agree with you, I look like an idiot, then it's all good and everyone's happy. And usually they stop kind of spouting mean stuff online after that. So yeah.
Yeah, you just mentioned about like a lot of the fellow castmates kind of being like on the younger side. Maybe did that at all like affect sort of like your ability to make like connections or like form relationships within the house, do you feel?
I don't think so. I think like James was the only one that was lucky. It was a couple of years older than me. Michelle's quite close to my age. I don't think it inhibited any of the relationships I formed there. I was still flirting with the 26-year-old boys. I still got it. I'm fine. I'm doing well. Me and Horacio were having chats. Like, it's fine, but I think maybe it did like affect my self-esteem a little bit, because obviously that whole spiel was a reflection of some like self-esteem issues that I was having. And I think that might have been contributing to that as well, for sure.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I think like, it obviously depends on like who you are, but I think like given the situation and like you're obviously cognizant like this is a game show, you kind of like you have to make relationships and stuff. You're almost like subconscious, like I kind of got to play the game here a little bit, like the game within the game.
Oh, yeah.
You make small talk as you go.
Yeah.
So obviously, we talked about the Bachelorette a little bit. I was kind of curious, like with getting onto TV, like was that like your initial goal? Like, was I want to be on like a dating show, or like did you just have aspirations for TV? Period.
No, so growing up, I always said I wanted to be on television. I was always an attention seeker. If you can't tell, I was an attention seeker. And I did drama, and I was always like this loud. I was a singer. I was all this stuff, but I never pursued it. And then when I was 30, it was very serendipitous, because I was with my housemate and she loved reality TV. She always just called it like her trash TV kind of thing, And she was like, you were born in England, you have a British passport, you should apply to go on Love Island UK. It's huge, and like I think you'd be really good on it, and you should apply. And I was like, no, like I don't think I could be in a bikini on TV. Like it's just a bit much, And then she was like, you should think about it. Anyway, then 2 weeks later, I was at my job, and I was bartending at this little bar on a street here in Melbourne, and these two women came in and they were like, "Have you ever considered being on reality TV?" And I was like, "Yeah, kind of actually." And they were like, "We're casting for The Bachelor, and we'd love for you to come to the auditions." And so I just said, "You know what? Fuck it, why not?" And I went to the auditions, and as soon as I went to the audition, I knew I was getting cast because there was nobody that looked like me. There was no other tattooed people, and everybody was like kind of like wallflower, and I was like, "Let's go!" Woo! You know. And so I was like encouraging the other girls to like. They made us just randomly dance, which is probably the most intimidating thing, to be in a room of like 40 beautiful women and just like get in the middle and like start dancing. And I was like grabbing other girls and making them dance with me, you know. So I think like that was kind of when I was like, actually, I think I'm pretty suited to this. And obviously don't have a good track record, but I keep getting cast. So I think I must have something there that people like.
Listen,
or don't like. Not sure.
That's what it is. I noticed that's such a big thing, actually. A lot of people's stories when getting like either, you know, kind of, I don't want to say like recruited, but like just running into casting recruiters. I always notice bartending is actually like a really good spot to get noticed. So if anybody's, you know, watching any ambitions on being on, you know, reality TV, why don't you go get a bartending job? Maybe they'll
make a cocktail or two. Yeah, for sure.
Is reality TV like popular in Australia? Because I know it's a really big thing in the UK. What is it like over there?
I mean, comparatively to the UK and to the US, it's a lot smaller. Obviously, we have a smaller population, so there's less people watching in general. I think since COVID, the audience has diminished a little. I think people are more inclined to like go outside now. But during COVID, I mean, Bachelor in Paradise was massive. And then I've noticed like when we did the Challenge Australia, we had a really small audience and people just weren't interested in it. So I don't know. Some shows are really big. We have a show called Married at First Sight, which is just massive and people love it. But I think we have like a smaller pool of shows, and it's more those sort of older generations now that are watching reality TV. So like I would say like 45 plus that sort of watch reality TV here.
I mean,
the same people that were watching it 15 years ago, you know. Yeah.
No, that checks out over here where I'm at, because like the Real Housewives of New Jersey is like really, you know, and yeah, obviously, you know, with the demographic for that, you're gonna tend to find like, you know, a lot of moms tuning in. So
yeah, and it makes sense because they're the ones that are at home during the day or like whatever, and it's their time to switch off is watching their shows. And you know, and I think with the challenge, you know, it's been around for so long that a lot of the audience have been watching for years. And like I said, I'm a fan. I was disappointed by the cast too. But I think I get what the challenge are trying to do by like bringing in these new people who do have as much potential as, you know, you've got people retiring. You've got Wes who's just had a kid and retiring and things like that. So you have to bring up the new kids on the block. And I think that I get why they're doing it, but I also get the audience perspective of like, hey, where's Bananas? Where's CT, you know, where's Jordan, where's all these people, because it's who they're accustomed to.
No, that's like a really like, I'm glad that you like worded it that way, because that's like a really selfless like way of wording it, because like you could very easily be like, oh, like, you know, we're new, we gotta like, but you're able to like pinpoint and recognize that, like, you know, you get it from a fan perspective for those that are disappointed, but on the same token, you're able to kind of identify that, like, you know, some of these people aren't going to be here forever. We kind of got to like find out who's going to be, you know, who we're relying on to carry the show for the next decade or so. So
yeah, exactly. And it's like the reason the show has been so successful is because they're able to adapt. You know, they went from just being like real world, you know, road rules people to then incorporating more shows and sort of mixing it up. And now it's going global, and, you know, they're adapting these things in. And I get that, like, with the 39th season, like, it's been so long that putting in these new people and not including those older vets as like a mainstay of the show is quite jarring, because it's like, well, this is why we watch for Johnny Bananas, you know, but you're gonna have these people are so good at this game now, they're gonna just walk all over us. So if you want new characters, unfortunately we have to kind of get them out so that we have a more even playing field. And you see, even with the playing field, it's not it's still not even because the people who played the last season together are, so it's accumulative in that sense. It takes time to let people build up their repertoire.
Right. All right, I'm putting you on the spot right now. You didn't know anything. Let's just say you didn't know anything going in. Like, try to put yourself back, like, in that moment before knowing that, like, the format's a lot of people that just haven't really, either won before or they're on the newer side. You're going into this and you're like, okay, oh my God, I can't wait to see this person walk in. Like, I'm just talking, like, veteran-wise. Like, you watched the show before, obviously. Who was, like, somebody that you were, like, excited to see prior to knowing, like, the format?
CT, and I said, like, no matter what, I mean, I said the production knows this. I said no matter what, I wanna hang out with CT. I just want to, like, be best friends with CT. I want to, like, marry CT. I want to work with CT. I want to run a final with CT. Like, I was just team CT all the way. But I mean, there's so many aspects. Like, man, I'm such a fan of the show that there's so many people that I wanted to see for so many different reasons. I would love to see the way Laurel works. I think she's a really interesting person and a really interesting character with such a rich history in the show. Jordan, I find fascinating. I don't know. CT was the big one for me. I just find him very, very interesting. But I was, like, really excited to see Big T, to be fair. Like, I remember, I didn't know she was going to be there at all. And she was on my plane, and I was like, oh, it's Big T. And she knew who I was, and I was like, oh my Lord, like, this is weird, But yeah, I mean, I was just excited to be there, and I think had I come in with no knowledge of the challenge, which, to be fair, some people did. There's from the Challenge Australia, there was only a couple of us that were, like, fans of the show. Most people hadn't really watched it. And so I think had I come in just blind, I would have definitely gone home first. I think I had some knowledge of the show, and I had some advice from some people, some vets going in, and that advice just got muddled up, and that was kind of what got me stuck. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really know. Like, it's hard to replay it back if I was in a different situation. What would I have done, or, like, who would I have been excited to see? Because I've only been living and breathing the challenge for the past few years. That's all I know.
Well, there's your homework assignment. You can keep going back even further and watch.
Yeah.
No, obviously, you had a past with Ciarran. Did you get the sense that, like, you two were kind of put, like, on the season together in hopes, like, just from a production standpoint, like, they were hoping that we would possibly see, like, a storyline there, or do you think it was just coincidental?
No, I think there's always hopes of that storyline. So we did Bachelor in Paradise together and the Challenge Australia, and production saw how we interacted on the Challenge Australia, and then still decided to cast us both on 39. So I was intrigued by that. I was like, I don't know. They saw, actually, on Australia, I was quite supportive towards him. And there was no real beef until after we left the show. And the same thing happened on this season, to be fair. Like, we got along fine, but then when he voted for me and, like, didn't really care about it, it was, like, an issue for me. Because I thought we were friends, but I don't know if they like us as individual characters and just happen to put us on and we just happen to go together. I think, so Ciarran came second on Australia, and I was out on the third elimination, and I was the alternate for World Championships, and I know he wasn't called. Wow. So yeah, I figure, like, they like us as individuals, and we just happened to get cast together on this season. I think maybe in Australia they were looking for a storyline, and now it's just like, okay, actually, as individual players, we have similar personalities.
Yeah,
we're both very hard-headed. We're both strong competitors. I'm just a bit smarter than he is.
Yeah, subtle flex, not too bad.
Yeah.
No, that's definitely a good sign. Like, I'm obviously, like, an outsider looking in. Just from, like, looking at that, it kind of looks like, and this is probably a good thing in your case, since you guys are representing Australia, they're kind of looking for like a reach sort of like of okay, we're trying to get maybe Australians to like the show, and you could be like kind of viewed as like that sort of figure point there. So
Yeah, I mean, they could have made me look a bit better on this episode if they wanted people to like it. But yeah, I mean, like I was pretty not popular. I don't want to sound so conceited, but I was liked on Bachelor in Paradise for my confidence and for my bravado, and so I think bringing that over to the challenge and trying to bring in that audience with me, that I'm not, my personality is not going to change. I'm always going to be this, like, I'm going to make big moves. I'm going to, be a bold person. And so I think they probably like that and was hoping that dynamic would draw the Australian audience in. Hopefully I can still bring that one day.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people would like to, see you back. We do got to get into it though, because, we obviously saw the deliberation, and, clearly there was some stuff like left on the cutting room floor as far as conversations go. That we didn't.
All of it.
So, yeah, I mean, that kind of goes without saying here, but I'll just start off with my own question, and then you could sort of take this in whichever direction you'd like to. When you were given, the deliberation speech at first, you said something to the effect of, "I'm hearing people are saying my name and saying I'm weak." Like, did you hear any conversations or anything was maybe brought to your attention that people were saying about you?
Yeah, so what happened was the entire house was saying Big T, and they were all saying because she's the weakest link, she's the weakest link, she's the weakest link, and we're playing as a team. So I had to go chat to production for about 30 minutes. I come back into, get changed. They're like, okay, put on a jacket and we're going to go to deliberation. I'm like, okay, cool. So I go into my room, put on a jacket, and Manuel and Chauncey sprint into my room. They're like, everybody's saying your name. And I was like, what are you talking about? And they're like, the girls are all coming for you. Like all the ride or die girls, they're coming for you. They want your name being said. This was like news to me. I had no idea. Anyway, production like, stop chatting. We have to go to deliberation now. And I'm like, what is happening? And then I looked at them, and they were my two kind of closest people in there. And I was like, are you guys going to vote for me? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, oh God, I'm screwed. So I go upstairs to deliberation, and nobody in the room, everybody's like, nobody will look at me. And as I'm getting angrier and angrier, and I'm like, what the hell? And I kind of chat to a couple of people. I talked to Horacio. He's like, I have no idea about any of this. He goes off, takes Olivia away, starts chatting with Olivia and like trying to convince Olivia not to vote for me. And I spoke to Nerys, and Nerys is like, yeah, look, we're going to say your name. Everybody was like, yep. I'm like, fuck. So we sit down, and then we go into this deliberation, and everybody's beating around the bush saying like, oh, the weakest link. So in my head, I'm thinking, oh, they all think I'm the weakest link. So what's my card that I'm going to play here? And I was like, I'm going to play the layup card. I'm just going to go all out. I'm a layup. You have nothing to worry about. And so they had all kind of confirmed to me that they were saying my name, and everybody's kind of doing this little dance around talking about, the fact that they're all going to say my name. So I said, hey, I want to say my piece. And it was quite emotional. I felt very ostracized. I felt like I hadn't slept for 2 nights, by the way, at this point. So I'm dead, like delusional tired. And I sit there and I was like, I'm really weak. I know I'm probably not going to win. I'm happy to help somebody else get to the end. And when I said the money means nothing to me, that was genuine. Like, I don't have much, I'm a Buddhist. I don't have much attachment to money. I was going to donate a large portion of it to charity. I understand how that sounds to like a very capitalist American audience. It sounds like I don't want to be there, which is not the case. I want to win for me. I want to win for the title. I want to win because I love the challenge more than the money. That was so much more important to me. I just want to help my mom out, and then, help my immediates out. And then I'm happy to like help other people that need it, but it's still important to me. But yeah, my layup spiel probably, the way it looked without any context, was like it just sounds ridiculous. And yeah, I was really just trying to like, I was lying. I still wanted to win. I was just like, what can I do to get these people back on my side? Because they're all planning to vote for me, right now, and I need to switch this up. And all I can think of is play the layup card, play the layup card, play the layup card. And it just backfired really badly.
Yeah, because just from like a casual, viewer standpoint, just to see what we saw would look like almost in a sense that you burned yourself. But like
Yeah.
from what you're saying, like you kind of already were almost told that like no matter what, like we're voting for you. So you kind of already had in your head that like I'm on the chopping block, and
I
that
knew I was.
yeah. So then, wow, oh man. So I guess
And also, the reason I was on the chopping block is because I was making plans to try and break up those girls. I had said it to Jay and Callum. I had said, if it's a blind vote, we should get rid of the strong girls. And if it's an open vote, we should get rid of the weak girls. And I never said Olivia's name specifically. I just said the strong girls. But then I also lied to Jay and said I didn't know if anyone was coming after him, which I did. I knew Chauncey was coming after him. I lied to him. He knew I was lying to him. And so then he backstabbed me. And that's how it all kind of came about so suddenly. And I didn't really know some of this until watching it back. But yeah, the reason that my name was thrown out was because I was coming for those girls, and that I had a game plan. I had to. It was the only way for me to get ahead was to bring them down because they were all so tight. So yeah, that was my long-term plan, but it just kind of, yeah, I spoke too soon.
that's the USA girls is who you're coming at. Like
yeah, so like Olivia, Nerys, Mariah, Raven, and Michelle, they're all very tight. And so you've got 5 girls out of there's 12 of us that are all so close and have each other's back. It's like, okay, well, let's get the other girls together and try to rally against, because we can sort of infiltrate, and there's more of us than there is of them. But trying to trust, like I'm talking to Colleen, who also knows them from Ride or Dies, but is also on the outside of that group. She's lower rung on the hierarchy, so I'm sort of trying to get her to like help me. And I knew that there was problems between Raven and Nerys, so I'm like, let's crack that apart, let's find the cracks and rip it apart. And so I was trying to do that, and I was lying to those Ride or Die girls, saying that I wasn't trying to do that. So fair. I deserve it.
There you go, people. She's a lot smarter than the edit gives her credit for.
I know. I see the comments online. Everyone's like, "You dug your own grave," and I was like, "I wish you knew." Like, this is what I'm saying. I can't defend myself to everyone, but
I don't know if this was like intentional or like or like with the irony behind it, because like the MTV bio, like for your sort of profile heading into the season, I think was like a quote of you saying that like, oh, I've got a lot more upstairs than like what people think because you read a lot of books. So I don't know if that was like a foreshadow, like I don't know, but
yeah, no, I it's funny, and they asked me in a lot of my interviews and stuff about like the books that I've read and the psychology tricks I was planning to use while I was in there and things, and I had it all figured out in my head. And then, yeah, like you said, a lot of stuff was just left on the cutting room floor. So it was quite painful to watch, because I was like, you made me look really stupid. And I don't think my gameplay was stupid, but I think that I just made mistakes. And, there was like I said, there was a culmination of events that caused my downfall, and I take responsibility for it. But it was just an unfortunate turn of things. Not what I planned.
So was it Jay that like told everybody that you were planning to come for the USA girls, or do you know who did it?
Yeah, so Jay told me yesterday literally that he pushed it along. Like he helped my name, like once it had been brought up, he was happy to like egg it forward. So I still don't know who the initial person was. I think it would have been Callum. I didn't get along with Callum, and in the deliberations he was quite rude to me and quite mean to me. And so yeah, I have a feeling it was Callum. I did from the start. I actually told Devin once I got out, I was like, if you go in there as a mercenary, take out Callum, like target Callum, because I don't like Callum. So it was always for me, yeah, and it seems like it came from Callum, but I still have no evidence. In the episode, Olivia says it comes from Kyland, which I think is a cover, because I never spoke to Kyland at all.
Do you know why like Callum was rude to you by any chance? Like, you know where that came from?
because I'd lied to Jay and he was present when it happened and he knew. So there's actually a moment where you see Callum and Jay talking and they look at each other. Jay kind of goes and Callum goes, and they're actually looking at each other and I'm sitting next to them lying to them at that point. So it's hard. You can't fit all this into a 1 hour episode. You know, there's just so much more to the storyline, and it doesn't make sense if you tried to put it into a 1 hour episode. So yeah, I would say it's probably because I very blatantly lied to Jay to protect Chauncey, because I was quite close with Chauncey.
I think that's another thing too. Like, people, when they're watching this, they don't realize is like there's like thousands of hours of footage just being condensed.
And we have no phones, nothing. All we're doing is talking to each other. We have no books, we have no phones, we have no journals, we have nothing else to do but talk to each other. So it's constant. It is absolutely constant. And you don't see how much we sleep or how much we eat or like, you know, what we're actually getting up to. So there's so many things that can affect the outcome that people don't realize. But I get it. They have to condense it down for the storyline. So I get it.
Yeah. I gotta ask, like, does your tattoos, like, do any of them have any like symbolism behind them, or are they just? I like tattoos. Like what was kind of
a lot of like so a lot of my arms and stuff I got done when I was really young, like 18, 19. But all the recent ones, like my back, I got done by like a Buddhist monk in Thailand just recently. They're all like spiritual tattoos. Yeah, I've got them like all over. And then like the ones on my face, like this one is Tibetan Sanskrit, and it says I am aware. So it's like just about being present. So a lot of them are like to do with my faith and stuff as well. Same with like the with love is to do everything in my life from a place of love. And so a lot of them do have meaning, but a lot of them are just also little garbage. I have a Tamagotchi tattoo and like, you know, just a lot of little like silly things as well. I think I'm a tattooist, so I just kind of like let people draw their pictures on me. So half of them have meaning and some are just like silly. I literally have a goose that says silly on my arm. Like,
wow.
Yeah. Like there's a lot of like goofy tattoos as well.
Which one hurt the most to get?
Oh, to be honest, these little like dots on the end of my fingers, they were excruciating.
Oh.
I remember them being really bad. And whenever I tattoo them on other people, I'm like, oh, it's so bad. They're like, it's fine. Oh, no, it is actually really, really bad. Like, yeah. And the ones on my back, they were done with like a bamboo stick. So that was like pretty painful. Wasn't the best.
Well, you know, for those fans that are either watching this or, you know, have watched you on the episode, if in the future, you know, you're looking to come back, what is one thing that maybe you didn't get to either tell them or show them on this episode that you would want them to know about you?
I think the biggest thing is that, like, I really do want to win this show. I'm very passionate about being there. I'm very passionate about winning. And although it looked like I didn't want to be there, because of the spiel I gave off, it's like, you know, like I said, it was a dream come true for me to even get on this season. I tattooed a 39 on my leg, after coming off. Yeah, I don't know if I can show you. Hang on, let me see.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's a little 39 there. And the Tamagotchi. But yeah, for me, it's like, I really wanted to prove that I, like, to myself and to everyone else, that I'm capable of doing these things. And I didn't have the best upbringing, so coming to like do these things where I have to be really strong and I'm competing against like 6'4" men and, you know, doing all this stuff, and I can still hold my own. I just want people to know that, like, I'm really passionate about it. I really, really, really do love this game. And like I said, the money is not the important thing to me. The title is important, and that's more of a driver for me than the money. It's just, yeah, I think people think that I'm like, I put myself there as like, just, oh, I'm just doing another TV show and it's just another check and, you know, whatever. I don't care about if the show even airs. I just want to be on it and compete. It's so much fun. You get to do cool shit. You meet amazing people, and I'm just really grateful for the opportunity as well. I love the fan base. I love all the people that have reached out to me, and I'm just really, really appreciative.
No, I appreciate you, like, in your outlook with saying that, because, I think that means a whole lot more to, it resonates a lot more with the people watching it. Like, you have like the right motive, so to speak, as far as like, when it comes to the show, because, you never know like what somebody's intentions are, like coming on to somebody could just be like, I just want you to, so like, my friends can see me on TV, like, which isn't a bad motive, but it's just like, you're kind of like, as a consumer of a product, you want like someone to be kind of putting their best, foot forward with like the right mindset, I guess you could say.
Yeah. And I think like, if you look at, say, like Horacio is a great example, he wants to win. He has that drive. He's got that dog in him. He wants to win. And I think I come from the same place. And that just, I think the thing I was most disappointed about was that it wasn't shown from that perspective, was like how badly I want to be there. You see it when I competed in Australia, but they kind of had twisted it a little bit on this one. Like I didn't really want to be there. And I absolutely did. The reason I voted myself into that elimination was like, I'm on the challenge. I'm going to go down into that sand and compete. That's why I'm here. It wasn't because I want to go home. It's because I want to show you guys that I can win. And, unfortunately I didn't. But it means a lot to me, and the fan base is so cool too, like all the people that have reached out and all the people who have, like, even if it's negative, the fact that they're watching the show, like I'm really grateful for that. So either way, I'm stoked. Like I'm really happy.
I'd be remiss to not ask, since you brought up before about like the the upbringing thing. You don't have to like get into it obviously if you don't want to, but I was just kind of curious, like what your upbringing was like, just as
yeah, I mean, it's obviously like a long, complicated story, but I grew up a lower class, single parent household. In my early teens, I found my like biological family, so like my dad's half of my family, and then my mum is like, she's a beautiful person, but had a lot of mental health issues when I was growing up, so I was homeless on and off from the time I was 14 up until like my 20s. I had like experienced homelessness, sleeping on the streets. I used to sleep at my work at one period of time. And I only really reconnected with my mum when I was probably during COVID, when like my early 30s. And she's getting a lot older now, and that comes with health issues and things like that. So that's why I wanted to compete, was to get some money to help her in her last years, and that was important for me, so that I can sort of build more of a connection with her, because I didn't have a relationship at all. I kind of started she raised me from the time I was like 7 till I was about 14, but that's about it. So and before that was a sister, and it's just been all over the place. So I've sort of been in and out of the care of a lot of different people over my life. And I just believe this is why I wanted to give money back to people less fortunate, because I truly, throughout my homelessness, had I not had the support of charitable people, I may not be here. I might be relying on some toxic crutch to get me through the day, or, whatever it might be. And so I've been really blessed in my life by the fortune of good people, and I have a lot of privilege in this life. And so this is just why I believe in giving money back and not keeping it to buy myself a car or buy myself a necklace or whatever. It's just, to me, that seems trivial. But I do understand that, like, watching that back on TV could come across as, I don't want to be here. It's just this, what's important to me is different from some other people's perspective. Yeah.
No, I appreciate you, sharing that and being so open about that, because I think, like, obviously with the inception of this show, originally we were seeing like real worlders being casted, and we were learning their stories, like, in like their trials and tributes, like with their upbringings. So, just for you to share that and kind of give a little bit of a broad scope as to what you were going through, I think provides like a lot of fans now with like a lot of clarity, as far as like, especially in, maybe clearing up about like the charity. Not that I feel like you needed to in any way, but like, it gives them a little bit more of a, background as to like what you yourself dealt with and like why it meant a lot to you to do that. So
and I think you hear a lot is like, a lot of challenges will be like, I want to help my my parent who's sick, or I want to help this person in my life, you know, because they've done so much for me. And for me, I don't have, I mean, I have my mum, but even my mum is not really my mum in the maternal sense. She is like, you know, she is the person who gave birth to me, but we haven't had a relationship my entire life. So I'm just reconnecting that. So my family have been the people who helped me over the years because they helped me survive. And so if I can be that person for someone else, that's the meaning of life to me. You know, that's my purpose in this world. And yeah, I hope people get to see more, or like if they, you know, if they follow me or anything, I'm very open about who I am, and there's a reason I am the way that I am. I had a pretty like rough upbringing, but we all have our stories. Do you know what I mean? We all have a background story. We all have an origin story.
Yeah.
And that just happens to be mine. So it's, yeah, I wouldn't change a thing. I'm still glad that like things went the way they did. I like who I am as a person, so I'm grateful.
Do you think that like upbringing of yours prepared you at all for like dealing with maybe just like being, you know, the broad scope of television with like, you know, a lot of eyeballs being able to kind of just form opinions on you? It almost like gives you like this coat of armor in a sense, to where it's like, I've dealt with like much worse than what people online have to say about me.
Yeah, I think when it comes to like the online hate and things like that, I know, I just know that those people are, it's coming from a place of hurt. Like I said, happy people don't say mean things on the internet. So it's given me a perspective of like, anytime that I've been like not my higher self, not my best version of myself, was when I was in a place of lack and a place of hurting. And so it's kind of given me a bit more compassion towards other people. And even in the game as well, you know, like I see the game as the game. So anybody who sort of like hurt me in the game, it's like, okay, they hurt me in the game. It's a game. I have no grudges. Like I spoke to Jay, I was like, it's all love, you know, like I don't care. I don't care if you backstab me. We are literally playing like this human board game. And so you got to do what you got to do. And that's what we sign up for. That's what we know what we're doing. And I think, yeah, there's going to be lying and backstabbing. And if you're shocked by that, what the hell are you doing on the challenge? Like, if you're shocked that someone's lying to you on the challenge, come on, go get a day job. Like, shut up. Because this is what we do. Like, you're not going to get far if you're not. I mean, yes, there are people that have gotten far by being honorable and playing with integrity. And I do believe in being a good person, but also you can lie and you can manipulate and still be a good person. You just have to like not fuck with people's feelings, you know, like don't actually hurt people. Don't physically hurt people, don't mentally destroy people, but in the same sense, play the game. It's more fun to watch if we're actually playing a game.
Mm-hmm. Well,
people like Wes because he's manipulative. People like Bananas because he's manipulative, you know, like it's fun.
Yeah. Well, listen, I already wanted you to come back even after, you know, only just seeing like an hour of an episode. But after this conversation, I mean, you got me sold as far as.
So, thank you. I appreciate it.
You got me as your biggest spokesperson. So, but other than that, though, thanks. This is a ton of fun, and I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. So,
thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Have a great rest of your weekends, right? Because I think it's Saturday.
It's a Saturday. Yeah.
Okay, well, it's Friday now.
I hope you're. Wait, Friday evening.
6:53 p.m.
Okay, all right. I'll let you go have dinner then.
All right, thank you.
All right, feel better soon. It was nice to meet you.
Thank you.